Hi, and welcome to our Q2 Rethink Live session today, where our top next-gen agents will share their insights, their thoughts, their tricks and tips for navigating the current real estate reality. Maria Kazakos from Carolinas Realty and Vic Quiros from California Properties are our two broker advisors for the National REthink Council. And today, Maria is our moderator. So to waste none of this time with me talking, turning it over to Maria.
Hello, everybody. We are so excited to talk about all the fun things today. If you think you're the only one with a couple more days on market, you are. It's just you. Nobody else is experiencing that. But we've got these rock stars here to share some ideas and best practices around what they're doing right now with listings, how we're keeping buyers motivated and de-stressed. And of course, just all the approaches that we're taking in the current environment. So let's get started. Let's start with listings, team. We're seeing the cream puffs are still moving fast, but we've got a few that are accumulating some more days on market than we've grown accustomed to. What are you doing to keep your listings fresh? Who wants to kick us off?
I'm happy to start. Olivia Salyer here with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices RW Town Realty in coastal Virginia. I am seeing a bit of a slowdown, especially in the last 2 months. And I think the most important thing is about messaging to your sellers. You know, whenever there's a market shift, you should be proactive about outreach. One of the things that I do is a bi-monthly report to my sellers. I'm very data driven. We have some excellent tools in-house that can help you collect some of that data for your listings to show, you know, week over week, how many views are we getting? What are we doing to maybe boost those showings? How much reach are we getting? And that data can really inform you in how you change your strategy with the listing. But more often than not, you know, our clients have a lot of anxiety, and that anxiety is what I try to manage with these reports. You shouldn't ever have to wait for your seller to ask you for an update. You should always be on it. And by knowing that data, you are just going to be a better agent and be able to be reactive if there is a fresh shift, or maybe, you know, rates drop and we can say, oh gosh, okay, well, that was the reason why people were a little bit stagnant. You can jump on that, maybe do an open house in time with that.
I love it. I love it. Who else has some good strategies about keeping sellers informed?
I can hop in on that. As listings are sitting longer and you're working with multiple listings, I think it's really important to have an efficient way of keeping sellers in the loop, just like Olivia said. So if you're working across multiple listings and needing to give multiple updates, it's important to stay organized. So one tool that I really like to use, and you may have heard of this as a tool for listing presentations or pre-listing presentations, High Note is a really great site, and it's a living link. So you can share a link with your seller and then continuously post updates there all in one place so that they can come back and visit, and everything is held there. So it can be a really useful tool if you're working across multiple homes, doing multiple things that a seller can continuously reference so that they can keep track of what you're doing. So on a High Note link, there are multiple things that you can add. You can add text, you can add images, PDFs, links. So if you're doing things like a just listed postcard, a picture could go there. If you're posting your listing on social media, you could put you know, an example of that there or link it. You can include market updates comparing this year and last year. You could do market updates specific to your property's market and your price point so that the seller can see how the listing's comparing to other similar homes in the same price point in the same neighborhood. So tons of things like flyers. If you're using List Track and you're keeping track of views on things like Zillow or third-party websites, all of it can live there, and you can see as a seller's accessing that information, and that can kind of be a tool so you know how often to follow up. If they're a seller who's checking it often, you'll get notifications. So it can be a really great tool when you have multiple listings that are sitting and need to stay organized.
I love that. And the analytics of being able to see what they're engaging with, but also them being able to compare, you know, if you're showing market data week over week or month over month, kind of they can track things. And if they have to scroll, it means that you're doing a lot. That's a good subtle reminder too for how hard you're working for them. So that's a great tip. Who else has some great tips on what kind of data they're using, Brunel?
I mean, our Lancaster County marketplace is kind of a little slow to the increase on days on market, but we are seeing it. And more important than ever before is to set the seller's expectations out of the gate. With, you know, here's what's happening, here's what similar listings are doing. So, you know, they're not still expecting the 2021 or 22 like boom with a ton of showings and multiple offers in a couple of days. So that's important. And also out of the gate too, here's what we're going to do the first X number of days, and here's what we're going to do after that, and like continue that plan a little longer than maybe we did 6 or 8 months ago.
So being strategic with your marketing plan based on what you're seeing with days on market. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Alexandra, what are you doing in Georgia?
So, you know, obviously I love High Note, being able to kind of keep that running list of everything, but not just following with like the agents that showed the houses, but also talking to the agents that have listings in the same neighborhood as mine. And then this way, when I'm calling my sellers to talk about like activity, I'm not just going over like, hey, these are the amount of views, these are the showing feedback, but hey, you know, the house 3 doors down, while we've had 3 showings this week, they haven't had any, or vice versa. Like they've had some activity and we haven't. Maybe we need to adjust our price. They're kind of just communicating with all the other agents that are listed at the same time, so keeping them updated on their activity levels too.
That's smart. And the relationships matter, right? With our peers just as much as they matter with our clients. So leveraging that. Bridget, how about you?
Yeah, mine's a little fluffy, but truly so important. As we get stressed, we can hyper focus on the systems and the tools and you know, the difficulties. Our clients are focusing on the objections, right? And so for me, I really hyper focus on the relationship, and I build that from day one at the listing appointment. I like the biggest tool I pulled out of my pocket in this market is a listening ear. And it sounds corny, but it's true. Just being compassionate and being fully present. The listing appointments I went on in 2021 were so different. It was like, you know, we got this. Like, we're going to put it in the yard. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. Here's how I handle multiple situations. Now it's, you know, we have to be fully present, compassionate in every communication with the seller, because not every seller has the same concerns. And in the business, we can get so granular on, you know, what we know and what we expect and days on market and things like that. But from the public, you know, some are relying on the sale to move forward with their lives, with their next chapter, with their next purchase. Some are just frustrated because they want their money. They want the money out that they put in. They expect something out of investing in real estate and they're not getting it. Some are draining their whole life savings, you know, keeping this thing afloat and avoiding foreclosure. So do not forget about the basis of real estate, which is relationships, you know, and that can get you a long way in terms of just building trust and being able to implement the systems and the professional advice that you have, because you've built that layer of trust and understanding in your client.
It's so, I mean, important right now. And it all starts with mindset, right? Everything we do starts with mindset, and adjusting our mindset and establishing, you know, what does the market look like right now? And how do I have to adapt to coach people along? That's very wise, Bridget. Who else has some good strategies for their listings right now? Joe?
Yeah, so many great tips here. And I wanted to, Alexandra, I really liked what you said. And I wanted to add, like, you know, going through the MLS and researching some of the solds in the last 6 months, you know, and seeing in that neighborhood. And you could, you know, network with those listing agents and say, hey, you know, I have this listing here. I don't know if you had any buyers that came through at an open house, you know, so you can kind of reverse prospect that way. I really like being proactive with it. And then you get to report back to the seller, like, this is what I did today. Also, there's sometimes, you know, we could leverage local lending programs. Sometimes there's some really good programs in that zip code where maybe it's more affordable, a better interest rate. And sometimes even with our clients, you know, we may have somebody that needs to sell in order to buy, but maybe not. You know, I know Prosperity has something where, you know, they have where they can exclude the debt to income ratio. so they don't count that against them. So maybe they don't need a home sale contingency. So I think some of those are great ways to go about it.
Yeah.
And I've heard too that we've had a lot more loan programs introduced in the last year than we've had in the last decade across the board. And so we don't have to be the experts, but to your point, Joe, you know, having that partner in mortgage to ask the questions too and bring that idea to the table is fantastic. Bridget.
Also assumptions, you know, I've had some, it just depends on when their loan was originated, but there's been some opportunities where the principal balance is actually pretty close to what they would, you know, pay for the home in terms of their down payment comes in, fills that gap, and they can assume an interest rate that's much lower than today's market rates. It does take a little bit longer, but again, just looking at creative strategies to help market the home so your seller feels like we're really truly casting a wide net. Just get really, you know, informed on the process with that specific servicer or loan lender. But I've seen some success in that realm too. You just have to know kind of how much they owe and if it makes sense.
Mhm.
Any other ideas in terms of keeping the listing fresh and marketing it on day 90 as effectively as we marketed it on day 1?
Yes, I would like to share that a little bit of that, Maria. And this is Natalie Sanchez with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. I buy real estate here in Bossier City. And some of the things that I do that I think has been working for me, it's definitely, and I know we have some people that don't want to take that step, but videos are helping so much my career. And if you're watching this and you're thinking there's no way I can be in front of a camera, I think I was like you. I was 100% like you. I didn't think I could speak in front of a camera. And it was thanks to Berkshire Hathaway and all the conference that we have, we have been to, or I have been to, that have motivated me. I have seen the work that other colleagues, like amazing agents here, do with the videos. And I just, let's just be honest, people scroll every day, and they're trying to find something. And if they're trying to find a home, sometimes where do they go? Social media to see what is out there. And even on Zillow, they offer that option of videos now. So people are being more visual. So they want to see what is out there. So don't be afraid. If I did it, you can do it. And videos have definitely have changed the route of my business, even if I'm not in the video, even if it's just a video of the pictures. Even if you're afraid to be in front of a camera, just get a videographer to do the house. And then another very important thing is that your clients are going to be noticing that you are doing something. It's not just sitting there. It's not just doing the regular Sunday open houses. It's you're trying to show you property, not just through those usual steps, but going above for that. And I feel like the sellers are noticing that. Every time I post a video, I do a post about, the new listing or the listing, even if it's been sitting there for a few weeks. I try to text or send email, somehow communicate with my sellers. This is what I've been doing. Another thing that has been working for us is reverse prospecting, and some of our MLS have that option, like seeing what other agents are doing. Are they emailing this to prospect clients? And we always, even if it's like 100 emails, 200 emails, we have an email set up that I already have made in advance, asking the other agents, hey, I saw that you emailed this property to one of your clients. What can we do to procure an offer? Let us know if there's anything. My clients, especially if my clients are very motivated, I definitely have to email them, and we have some great results. Agents texting back or emailing back saying, hey, I didn't even notice about your property, but let me email it again and see if I can bring you a buyer. And the house is being shown, and then we got one more showing, and I can send that to my client. They're noticing that we are working. Postcards, they never get too old. There's people that don't get on internet. There's people that don't have access to social media, and it never gets too old. I got 3 listings out of sending regular postcards every time I have a closed property or just listed property. So some other things that I've been doing. There's so many, but my colleagues have great ideas too.
Well, Natalie, your videos are fire. I love them. And if you
Love
haven't seen
that.
them, You have to go because they're so authentic. They're so good. I love them. I also really love Bridget's videos. So Bridget, like I want to hear from you. You tell stories with your videos versus just like a listing video. And so, I mean, how's the reaction been to your videos? Have any of those houses been sitting? Like, have you been able to sell them through that?
So it's hard to kind of quantify like where the buyer comes from. And if I will say, I did one, on Tyndall that was kind of like a dating app sort of
That's
theme,
so
like
cute.
the house was the eligible bachelor, and it was looking for his soulmate. And what it helped do was once I had someone that had seen the house and they were interested, and it did happen to be like a younger single woman, I was able to send the video to the agent and have her share it like during kind of like the offer process, like the inspection period, and it helped kind of like connect them a little more,
That's
Um,
awesome.
so yeah, I just have fun with it. Like personifying the home is always a fun one too, the Penelope video.
Of
Yeah, that's
Yeah, like
Let me
Penelope is my
just,
favorite.
I
Bridget, and
know.
then, not just that, but like the telephone one. I
Mhm.
watch it like 10 times. Honestly, let's be honest. You cannot watch that video just one time. Another great video marketing, of course, is Olivia. I saw her video with the pool and I said, I don't have
It's
that
this
house.
cool.
I don't have, and I was thinking, I was like, okay, I don't have a 2 point, I think it's like $3 million home, but I have a home that has a pool. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna do a video.
2.4.
And I did it. And every time I post a video, I get inquiries like, hey, we were thinking we want to buy. So even if you think your video is not working, it is. And if you are willing to watch all of us videos, create your own so that other people, other agents are watching. And even if it's not a buyer, it's another agent trying to bring you a buyer to that home.
To add
Right.
on,
Well, and if you have like a video ready house, it gets other agents, it gives them the opportunity to do social content. So this house that I'm sitting at now, with my brokers open, I invited anyone and everyone who does socials to come out to the brokers open, and it gave me so much more exposure that then really got this house talked about far and wide across all of Virginia. And so it goes beyond just your own videos, but giving people a space to do videos could be amazing.
So Olivia, to clarify, you did like a broker open and invited a select group of agents that was
Yes,
active
yes.
on
So
social?
I try to be very well aware of like all the other agents, in my marketplace. I follow them on their socials. I try to be as networked as I possibly can. And so, I mean, I'm sitting in a 7,000 square foot house. We have plenty of space for plenty of agents to come. And so I just threw a huge party. I had a DJ. You can see the view. It was literally a beautiful day like this. And so I got probably about 50 different agents out to this property, one to see this crazy house, but they were all very qualified. They had purchasers in this price point. But for those that didn't, they had social media, and they were able to do videos and, show their clients that they're in properties like this and that they can show properties like this. Because right at the end of the day, it's about selling the property, and it takes two agents to sell that usually. And so I love to create other opportunities for other agents to show what they're doing too. And this was a great venue for it. And this house is now under contract.
There you go. Congratulations.
yay!
Asia, you had something to add there too?
Yeah, I was going to comment on what Bridget said about how it is hard to point to, this exact video located this buyer who saw it and then purchased the home, but it's putting energy out there when you make videos. And as real estate agents, we have a lot of realtors who follow us. So it is making that listing top of mind, but it's also staying top of mind to your clients who follow you, and just putting energy out there creates energy. So I think it's really worthwhile. Definitely.
I love it. Any
Something to
strategies
add.
around price for, Yumi?
Hi, this is Ayumi Kim with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices Hawaii Realty. So I think, when you have multiple listings and things are sitting a little longer, I think it's natural, or it's bound to happen where you kind of start to overlook smaller details. You get busier, and day one, first open house, you're making sure there's absolutely no dust, everything's perfect. But at day 50, 60, you start not really think about the smaller details. So recently I have this listing that just, we've had showings, but, feedback was okay, but we just had not gotten any offers. So what I ended up doing was I rearranged the staging materials outside where the patio was kind of the selling point. And since then, we've had better feedbacks, and I didn't buy anything new. It's just really rearranging, just giving it a fresher look. And small things like that really does make a huge difference. I don't know if it's necessarily tricking the buyer's mind to think that it's a new listing, because it's really not. But I've gotten a feedback yesterday saying that they're most likely going to put in an offer, and that's great because there's 17 other listings in that townhome community. So we're really competing against so many others. They all look exactly the same. So just making that little change makes a huge difference, and just paying attention to details, even if it's day 60, 70, because that's somebody's life saving all in one place. For you, it might be your fifth listing, but for them, that's everything. So.
That's a good point.
I agree.
Details matter. 17 listings in one complex. It's a lot of competition. All right, Alexandra, you had a hand up.
Yeah, so two things. So when we're getting ready to prep a listing, obviously we hope it sells in the first weekend, but right now in Atlanta, we're seeing things are either selling, first week in multiple offers, or it's sitting for 90, 120 days. So I'm starting to get creative, like how are we going to highlight the house in different ways over the course of time? So of course we'll have like our main listing video, but then taking different real and marketing opportunities throughout the time. So we're kind of planning those ahead of time. So, okay, what are we going to do the second week? What are we going to do the fourth week? How are we going to sprinkle in open houses and broker opens and things like that? And then something else I'm also doing is kind of like I was saying, like kind of like tricking the buyers, is changing up the virtual staging. So if it's been sitting for a little while, we need a little bit of a refresh, we'll pull it off the market. I'll restage it virtually or re-renovate it or something like that, and then put it back on a slightly different price and a different exterior photo. So if it was with a beautiful sunset before, just in daylight, and then changing like the second photo and everything like that. So just the buyers think it's a new listing that may have come on, and that's been working really, really well.
It's a great strategy to keep the clicks coming. I love it. In terms of putting it back on with a different price, what are we seeing with price reductions? I looked at Lawrence Yoon's slides that he just presented in DC last week, the chief economist for NAR, and he compared price reductions over the last 60 days to price reductions same time 2019. And we're reducing at a little bit of a higher rate earlier in the listing period. And so that's kind of interesting. Like, are we reacting instead of responding to the market? So I'd be curious to see what y'all are hearing and experiencing.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment too, like refreshing things. It's important to do that along with the price reduction, I think, because then it's great to, get it sent out again with a new price and kind of a refreshed look, versus just doing a price reduction. It's still the same, looks the same, feels the same. And, if you change it up a little bit and drop the price, that definitely helps to generate more activity and intrigues more people, to bring them back to something that they may have already seen online.
Excellent. Bridget, you're nodding. What's your
I'm
price?
nodding just because I love that combination. Even if you only reduce it by like $1,000 or even just $100, they're not going to see the new virtual staging or the new photos. Or what I'd like to do also is when I'm in a neighborhood that has a bunch of competition and it is a kind of a tract home subdivision, so the fronts all look very similar, I'll switch the front photo for something inside, like the kitchen or the living room or the backyard or something like that. But in order for people to really see that, you have to link it to something that the algorithm picks up and blasts out through emails and searches and things like that. So I was just nodding like emphatically with that, because sometimes clients want you to change the copy, they want you to change the descriptions, and maybe that will help. Or let's say that we'll give them $5,000, sure, but they're the new people, and even the same people that have seen it before will never see that if you don't do something that the algorithm picks up on, like taking it off the market, relisting, or little tiny price reduction,
Going for a new first impression.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who says you only get one?
We need 3 right now, based on where we're
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I love how innovative that is too, you know, and thinking outside the box, Bridget. I have done all of those different strategies. I really try to be optimistic with my clients because, you know, a price reduction could be so negative, right? You know, I think Maria made a good point about the energy too. The energy you give your client is important, and the motivation that you have behind, you know, why are we doing this reduce? It's not a failure, right? It's presenting it in a different way to show and back that up with numbers. You know, you should be the best expert in your marketplace. You should be the best in knowledge and numbers for any neighborhood that you're listing in. And naturally, you're just going to understand you're just going to start to get kind of a feel for it. Like, hey, in this neighborhood, there are 5 other houses, 3 of them have reduced, 2 of them have sold. This one listed at the same time that yours listed at. And it is also sitting there. So what's the comparisons? What's the difference? Sometimes when I'm in a competitive market against other houses that are sitting like in active comparables, I will go and I'll tour them. You know, okay, so this one's your same price point. You know, like Ayumi, you could go in all 17 of those other houses that you have, you know, and see what is different about ours. What could we use to set that apart? But that information can then feed back into more subjective notes for why to do a reduction. Like, hey, I did see this house that sold in one day where yours is still on the market 30 days later. Well, their kitchen is brand new. You know, and give them some of those notes that you couldn't really tell online, you know, from just browsing other pictures and comparables. But, you know, I think the realtor tried and true is every 30 days you should reduce until you get it sold. Well, I do think with the data that we have, I'm not sure that's accurate anymore. And also coming out of like COVID pricing, you know, your sellers don't want to hear that. And so giving them some actual action points based on their listing helps them understand what's getting sold versus theirs.
Putting it into
Maria,
perspective.
I know we have done a video on this, but that's why our listing presentation is very important, because in that we anticipate what could eventually happen. And for me, it's like, this is what I'm gonna do for you. This is what I'm gonna do for the listing. But I want you to understand, we're not at the seller's market as we were a couple, 3 years ago. And I feel like in my case, I don't know, everybody may differ, but in my case, I still get clients like thinking, oh no, we're still at 2021. And I still can sell this house for, 20, 30K above what the market is telling me I can sell it for. And I never decline a listing because I feel like if you set up your expectations and we talk about their expectations, I feel like we come to a middle point. But it's very important to show them what we just talked about, what we do for our listings, like what work are we doing, what differentiate us from other agents that are also listing in the same neighborhood as our, Ayumi said. It's very important, and I feel like that's my strong point. I will come and said, we have sent 300 to 500, depending on the neighborhood, postcards. We have done this and that and this. We have done agent open houses. We have done Sunday, Saturday open houses. I have called other agents, and we have proof of all that. We have done the reverse prospecting, as I said. I think it's time. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, I don't mind. We can keep it as long as you want. We can extend a 1-year contract if you want to. But I mean, how soon do you need to sell? Because you told me that you really needed to sell. You're motivated to sell. But now, are we getting short just because we can't reduce it $2,000? Can we try, like somebody said, $1,000? And I feel like after you talk to them about everything you have been doing, that is not you as the listing agent, but the market is responding to what's happening. I feel like they're more open to reduce the price sooner or later.
You had a good point there to Bridget's point earlier, understanding their motivation. Like what's your alternative? If you don't sell now, 6 months from now, and we're still here, are you comfortable? Like you're not in a rush? What are we doing here? I think that's a very good point. All right, so, Joe.
I just wanted to add real quick, amazing tips. And with the price improvement reduction, something else you could do if you want to, try something fresh is rather than doing just one price reduction at, let's say 5%, you could potentially do like a schedule where you do like 2.5, and then in a few days or a week, you do 2.5, and you might stand out towards those other ones because, oh wait, there was 2 price reductions, you know, and I think anyone in the MLS search, those buyers are going to get the notification again. So I always thought that's really good. And then another just fresh idea with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Fox and Roach, we have Vice President Rajiv Sagja, who's an AI power user, and he came up with a 30-day marketing plan. It's a custom GPT. And there's a lot of fresh ideas in there in case you're looking for something new. So I definitely recommend checking that out.
So we
I
could
def-
find that like on Rajiv's like YouTube channel, maybe?
Actually, it's right through Chat GPT. You could even
Okay.
just type in his name, but it's a custom GPT, which is a certain thing that people can create who have pro accounts. And it really does a lot of the work, you know, for you. You could type in, it asks you information, and it populates all these different ideas, and you could take what you want from it.
That's awesome.
Rajiv is the king.
He is.
Yeah.
I definitely second the AI train. I've actually created different GPTs myself for listings. One of them is listing refresh, you know, like take all of this data, what's wrong with this listing? I've asked Chat GPT that. And you know, it takes competitive listings and can say, hey, like you have a spelling error here on your remarks and you have like everything else, you know, you're 30% higher than 5 other listings in town. And so it's just an amazing tool. And I recommend to anyone who is in real estate to start using it because once you start to get into it, you can't ever leave it behind.
And then you can blame GPT for, hey, I didn't tell you that your house is overpriced. It said that your price sucks compared to everybody else's.
By the way, we'll put Rajiv's contact information in chat in just a couple of minutes.
That's awesome. All right, let's talk about our buyers. Buyers getting discouraged. How are you coaching them through? What are your buyer conversations looking like?
I can speak to this. I'm with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Drysdale Properties, which covers parts of Northern California and Nevada. And we've started doing something really cool that I think is an excellent talking point when it comes to doing a buyer presentation with a potential client. We're calling it the No Stone Left Unturned program. And essentially what it is once you have a signed buyer representation agreement with a client, they are providing postcards that you can send out to homes that match the buyer's wants and needs that aren't necessarily on the market yet. So you're reaching out to would-be sellers and potentially gaining listings that way as well, because on these postcards, there's a QR code where a seller can look up their home value if they are maybe curious about selling. But I think one of a buyer's greatest fears is that they're going to miss something. And especially with a lot of noise in the marketplace about some brokerages have access to off-market listings, I think it's really important when you meet with a potential client to highlight the ways that you're going to be creative about finding them their next home. We're not just going to look at listings that are on the MLS. We're going to talk to other agents, find out about coming soon, send mail directly to potential sellers. And then also really be aware of the new home opportunities in your marketplace. So I think it's really important to know all the new construction that's going on around you, to be on the builder's mailing list so that you have access to their info about incentives, whether it's rate buy down or covering closing costs, so that, you know, if a home's maybe out of your buyer's price range, but they're offering, you know, a big rate buy down and it brings it into being affordable for your client, you're able to be the hero and suggest that new build community to them so that your client never feels like they have to go to multiple places to find their home, that you're going to be the source and you're going to have your finger on the pulse for them. I think it's a great differentiator and can be a motivator to get a client excited about signing a representation agreement with you.
I love your proactive approach too, because it is really hard to get that information out to consumers about various incentives on resale and on new construction. Like there's nowhere where all that lives. And so doing that homework on the front end, that's amazing. All right, Natalie, you had something on this too, I think, in terms of how you're working with your buyers.
Yes, absolutely. I was saying the other day that it's so important to know that there is a variety of programs out there And sometimes we're not reaching out to lenders to know, hey, what's new? What new programs do you have to offer to certain buyers that maybe couldn't qualify a couple months ago, 6 months ago? But I always feel like if a buyer reaches out to you inquiring about, like a listing that it's been going on, that my neighbor's house is selling, I feel like it's because they want to buy. They just don't know how to buy. And it's our job, it's our duty. This is what we do. We serve those with the desire of becoming a homeowner in here. So it's so important that even if you don't know all the programs, that you have somebody, that you have few people around you that can guide them. Don't just settle for one lender. That was one of my biggest mistake at the beginning of my career, and I admit it, and that's why I'm here sharing this with you. Hopefully that, so that if you're new, a newbie like me, you will not make the same mistake. Find other options. Another thing that I wanted to share, and I've been thinking about it, about this question, Maria. Let's say you have your first time home buyer, they purchase a home. Did you ever mention, is this going to be the only one that you're going to get? Are you looking to invest? I'm an investor myself. I got into real estate because my realtors used to ghost me, literally, because maybe I wasn't buying $1 million homes, but I wanted to invest. And that's one of the questions that sometimes we're forgetting to ask our clients after we close. Hey, I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. Welcome to the home ownership deal. But is this all that you want to do? Are you looking to invest in the future? And I bet you anything, they're going to answer, so how do we do that? Can we? Are there an options? So there we go. You got another buyer in the way. So don't always talk your experience. I'm sure most of y'all are investors too, and we're leaving that behind. We're not sharing it because we're thinking that we're showing off or we're just bragging about what we do, but it is not always like that. Real people, real investors start like that by being asked, would you like to invest? And that's one of the things that have worked very good for me. My clients have always been repeated clients because I always bring that up. This is how I started. I started with one property. This is how many I got right now. And I can help you. So that's some of my ideas.
Your next deal is rooted in your current deal. I love it. Who else is doing a great job with their delightful buyers that are not at all ill-informed? Joe, what do you have for us?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about off-market opportunities. So I think, when buyers are getting discouraged, most likely, on-market properties are really tough for them. Maybe they can't waive everything like their competition, or they don't have cash. And, with the buyer agency agreement now, I think off-market for sale by owners, reaching out to sellers directly, it's such a great time to do it. I mean, we have the agreement now, and I think we could be really proactive with that. And, there's sometimes you could do like, a buyer, like where it's like a buyer letter saying like, I'm just reaching out. You may not be interested in selling, and I totally understand that, but I promised I'd do everything I can to help my buyer get a house. If your plans have changed, please reach out to me. And then also with the for sale by owner, I had a recent client that was getting really discouraged on market, and I was like, we were like, let's take a look at the for sale by owner, and there wasn't as much competition with it, and we ended up getting them the house, and it was a really awesome success story.
I love it. Brunel, you mentioned that you're selling things hand over fist in 2 days in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Is that in every neighborhood, or there's some pockets in different prices?
No, it's not every neighborhood, but I had a few listings this weekend that went under contract, and they were, I think the longest one is 3 days on the market. So we still have a pretty high buyer demand, and still limited inventory in a lot of neighborhoods, but we're starting to see some days on market increase in specific areas of the county. But one of the things I wanted to say too with buyers is we talked about sellers and communications and attitude. Same thing goes with buyers. They're feeling fatigued, and it's important that we don't also fall into feeling fatigued or even making them feel fatigued because we wrote an offer and it didn't get accepted or whatever, or there's not anything on the market that they're looking for. So it's important to stay positive with them, because that is contagious and will help them as well.
Absolutely. Alexandra.
So I'll add on to Brunel's part about like the buyers getting fatigued. I tell them sometimes it's okay to take a break. Like, don't feel like you have to constantly be refreshing One Home or Zillow or whatever it is that you're looking at. Like, it's okay. Take a step back. If you're going on vacation, just disconnect. Don't think about it. Or like, don't rush out to every show. Like, I'm like, after a certain, like, I learn exactly what my buyers want. Like, I'll go look at the house for you. I'll let you know if it's a good fit. I can FaceTime you through it, but don't drop what you're doing every single time. It's going to be okay. And just take that step back and take a deep breath, because then everything will happen in the right timing. And then as soon as they kind of take that step back,
And you're giving them that confidence too, because they know that you're on the lookout for them. Like you're bringing that value.
exactly. And I'll text them and be like, hey, like this one just came on the market. I think it could be a good fit. Like, I'm gonna go take a look at this. Like, I'll let you know how it is. So then they don't feel like they have to be the one constantly in there too.
Yeah, I would say, for me, my mentality is abundance, right? There's plenty of business to go around. There's plenty of people hiding in the cracks of your community that are ready to buy. They just haven't met you yet. So if you're with somebody, and again, back to just understanding your client's motivation, if they're not ready or it's not happening, I'm the first person to tell them, look, maybe now isn't the right time to buy for you. If you keep seeing these things and you don't want to offer what they need and it's not working out and you love living in your mom's basement, like, stay there, stay comfy. You do that. I'll be here. I'll trickle it, to you as new listings come up. But other times people have an $800 mortgage and it's like, what are we doing here? What's the motivation? Are you really bursting at the seams of your current house, or are you just kind of being pressured to buy a house because that's what everyone's telling you to do? So understanding their motivation, reminding them of their current situation. And if that's not the buyer that's going to move right now, then you prospect, you continue to do what you do best, and you build relationships and find where you can service the community that's ready to go, that has true motivation. Divorce, birth, death, jobs, all those life situations,
Get in with the military community.
There you go. Depending on your town, that's a really lucrative group of folks.
Other buyer strategies, Olivia, tell us more.
I would say, one of the strongest advantages buyers have when they work with me is how well networked I am. I do everything possible to know all the agents, to be friends with all the agents in my community, outside of my company. Like I said earlier, it takes two agents to do a deal, and you should have great relationships with other agents, even if it is a competitive situation for listings with them. There's so much opportunity when you have good relationships with those listing agents. Maybe they'll give you a heads up on a listing that they have, or maybe they will share with you something they have off market, or maybe their aunt's cousin is selling and doesn't want to list it, and they know you're a good agent and will give you first crack at it with a buyer. There are so many opportunities that you get through those relationships that, I try never to burn a bridge. I try to bring as much value to those transactions that I can on the other side. If that means I'm doing both sides, fine. I'd rather have a smooth transaction than not, but that agent's going to remember that you were easy to work with. And maybe if it's a competitive offer situation, here in Virginia, I'd say anything under 500 still super competitive. And so to get those buyers to get accepted, you want to have the leg up on them, and maybe you've done a deal with the listing agent already and they have that confidence that you will be able to get those buyers to the closing table, even if they have a contingency or maybe weird terms. Having that conversation with that listing agent and having that rapport could maybe get your offer accepted. I got an offer accepted that was actually a lower offer out of two this past weekend, because of my relationship with that agent and some of the terms we offered that weren't money related. And so anything's possible, y'all.
And to your point, those open lines of communication to understand what's important to the seller and what other terms, can you lean into?
They needed rent back. They really needed extra time. They're leaving the country. They need to get their money out. And so we're doing a quick close, and they are having 3 weeks of seller rent back, which is perfect. And they were willing to give up $10,000 to take my client's offer over a higher offer for that.
It's amazing. Joe, you're nodding and unmuted. You're very vulnerable now to share your thoughts.
I really love what Olivia said there. And yeah, when, I think for our buyers sometimes to get creative with structuring the offer, especially if they're financially strong, you know, certain things like waiving the first few thousand of the home inspections so they know they're really serious about the house. Some of those strategies I think can go really far, but I really liked what Olivia said right there. Really good stuff.
What activities do you all do to proactively nurture those agent relationships, whether it's feedback related, I mean, on both sides?
Yeah, I mean, I try to go to every open house that I possibly can. Brokers opens, you show support to them, you invite them to yours. It's a great way to network too. It's a great way to hear about upcoming listings off the market. Who doesn't like a glass of wine and a great view? You know, you get to see more houses that way. And by showing, you know, I always say it's proactivity. You show support first, you be the one reaching out your hand. I like to go and comment on everybody's Instagram posts like, oh my God, what a beautiful listing. It's true. It's support. Could I sell it potentially? You know, and that brings it back around. It comes full circle.
One of the things, Maria, that I feel like another agent really appreciates, it's a feedback after showing the property. And I just showed 8 properties a couple days ago, and that's what I did last night. I took my time because I remember all the, you know, what the comments from the buyers. They're moving. They're a military family. You are right, and that's a niche that it's you could very well be developed. And I remember everything they said about each house. So I went back and did a feedback. A couple agents reached out to me, texted me, and they're like, hey, so they need closing costs. What can we do? You know, do they need upgrades on carpet allowance? You know, so it's very important. I feel like it is very useful for you to leave a feedback. I know it takes a couple minutes. Please do it. I do it all the time, even if the buyers didn't say anything. Oh, this house wasn't for us. Just I say that. I'm so sorry. This house wasn't for them, and I try to always leave it positive. But if it has to be a positive but true feedback, but I think that helps a lot. Keep a good relationship with other agents. Another thing that I do is before I show the house, I try to call every agent, unless I have like 10 showings in a day for the same buyer, because that's what they want to do. But I try to call them and just to kind of hear, like, hey, why are they selling? Can you share? Most of them can share. Trust me. They're moving, they're divorcing, unfortunately, or they're getting married. They need a bigger house. And they need to sell this so that they can buy the other house, or they're downsizing. Their kid is moving to college, whatever it is. And I feel that helps a lot because when you meet with the buyers, you tell them, hey, they're very motivated. They're willing to do this, they're willing to do that. And it kind of makes a difference. I've noticed in my career that it makes a difference to tell a client, in this house, you say you love the backyard, but you didn't like the kitchen. Well, they're willing to go do an allowance on the kitchen, granite or appliances. So it's a game changing when you communicate with the other agent, and especially if you call in a nice way saying, hey, I'm trying to make this happen, what can we both do?
I love that. And knowing those facts opens up so many what if scenarios and those lines of communication. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, and just to quickly add, the communication factor is great. And sometimes I like asking agents, like, what's your preferred method of communication? Like, I'm working a deal right now. The agent does not like to get on the phone. He's like, just email me. And I'm like, okay. And I have others that, please call me. I like speaking on the phone and talking. So sometimes, I try to, work with their preferred way of communicating because I want to, create that good relationship and do that with them.
It's
a
kind
good
of a
point.
long game, for me, it's like every closing that I have with another agent, I'll send a thank you card with a little gift card to the local coffee shop and just say, thanks for a great transaction, even if we like white knuckled it the entire time through it together, But I think you just build those relationships slowly over time. Unfortunately, it's kind of one of those gradual processes, but all of a sudden you wake up and you've got, like Olivia said, a broker open full of people because you've supported them and built those relationships.
And it's totally fine for someone to be able to tell their client, hey, I've done a deal with this agent before, and I know that they're working with a serious buyer, and I feel good about this offer. I mean, that's...
I have won 2 offers on that same sentence that you said. The agent, actually, I'm about to close it next Friday, one of them, and she told me, she's like, Natalie, we got a little bit higher offer than yours, but I told the sellers, I have worked with Natalie and she made it happen. We closed, which of course is a teamwork, lender, inspections. But another thing that we're forgetting is like our reputation set strong. If you're telling the listing agent we're gonna get inspections done right away, which is what I do. I don't want to waste 10 days trying to wait unless the inspector that the buyers choose or somebody they know somebody and they can't do it within, then I'll change the due diligence period. But if I can do an inspection the next day, every agent that has worked with me knows that I will get it done. Like I'm not gonna wait 10 days to find out that they don't want the house, because I don't think it's fair for the listing agent either. Just like it won't be fair if I was on their shoes. So always try to do to others what you would like to be done to you also.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think a lot of my buyers are getting discouraged because of the higher rates, and we're not really seeing much of multiple offers unless it's a specific area, maybe in Kailua or something. But I think they're kind of getting tired of buy now, refi later quote, and so now I'm trying to focus on why this property works perfectly with their lifestyle. And once the rate drops and when there's more competition, they may not be able to outbid other offers. Therefore, they're not going to get the property. And I think a lot of the times, the biggest fear with people are missing out on the opportunity. And if they don't own now, it's because, they didn't buy during COVID when the rates were very low. And, they already feel like they've already missed out on that. So now it's like, hey, you have the chance to, buy this perfect property. So rather than focusing on, oh, don't worry, just refi later, just, if you can manage the monthly mortgage now, you'll be fine. That's not really realistic in their mind. They think, well, it's easier said than done. So rather focus on the positive, which is, okay, this is perfect because of your lifestyle. So that's kind of the approach I've been taking.
I love that.
Goes back to their motivation too. I don't know a lot of buyers that bought because the market conditions were just right. Usually that third child throws them over the edge. All right, team. What else for the good of the cause? Y'all have been incredible today. So many good nuggets to take away here. Professional courtesy not being the least of which. I love it.
I just want to say not to forget about your own personal well-being. I know, again, it's like kind of this whatever, fluffy, corny, but it's true. It's like I've noticed that my business thrives when I am mentally, physically, spiritually, like solid, and there's no perfect center. You don't ever achieve like a perfect like enlightenment, like we're not Buddha or whatever, but it's just so important to whatever fuels you. It might not be like a 6-mile run in the morning or like maxing out at the gym or whatever it is. Like if it's reading 10 pages of your favorite book and kind of like, your little escape, or binge watching Love Island USA season 7, like whatever it is, just make sure you're taking care of yourself, because you can't show up for others if you're not showing up for yourself.
Yeah, piggybacking off of Bridget, I mean, that's so important. I'm extremely grateful. I've had more listings in the last 3 months than any other time in my career, and I have had to. Thank you. I feel insane, but I've been doing self-care, and I've obviously got amazing group of agents that I can ask questions to. And if you hit a roadblock, like I've had some like really big issues pop up in the last couple of months, but if you bring it to your office, you bring it to your group, you may not have the solution, but like I've solved them in minutes versus like agonizing them over hours because of the people I've surrounded myself with. And, to me, at the end of the day, my optimism survives all. And so if you stay optimistic, you're going to find an optimistic solution. If you are a negative person, you're going to find a negative solution. So it's all about that mindset.
Yeah, Bridget.
Everything's figure outable.
Yeah, Bridget and Olivia, those are such great points. And I think when we take care of ourselves, we could help with our clients more, especially I think when we were saying like clients getting bored or discouraged, it's hard, like they're buying a house at the most competitive time probably, ever. And being there. And also, you know, I've had so many clients that I feel like they were just ready to quit. And I think that motivation and also the storytelling of like another client, listen, I had another client that was right in your shoes. They were almost quitting and we found it. And I know it might not happen tomorrow, but let's just keep going. And, you know, like Alexandra said before, maybe you go on vacation, take a little break, and we'll come back to it. You know, I think it's just constantly being there for them and hearing them out.
Such important advice because it's such a stressful, anxiety-provoking process in so many ways. And if you don't take care of yourself and you're not able to be that objective third party to kind of really just base in the facts and listen and be compassionate and bring your empathy. And I mean, I'm not running 6 miles in the morning unless somebody's chasing me, Bridget, but for them to do that, you know, feel good after that.
Read both then.
Carry on. All right, who wants to wrap us up with their favorite nugget to share with the group?
No pressure. Close
So
it
that's
out.
gotta be really solid.
Well, I was thinking this morning, thinking about this, and of course, I do my morning prayer. So if you are like me, always think of the amazing, whether you believe in God, universe, whatever you believe, think that there is a outside force out of us that is always trying to help us achieve. But in order to do so, we have to do it. And I was thinking about this phrase, it came to my mind. And when you said that, I didn't think you were going to ask, but I was like, it is my time to say it. I always think that brilliant futures come from brilliant ideas. And if you're watching this today, you have wonderful, amazing people. Trust me, I'm new in here, but these ladies over here and so many others that are part of the Rethink have amazing ideas. My business will not be the same if it wasn't for Rethink and of course Berkshire Hathaway. And I hope to see you at conference in Arizona, our summit. But just watch this video again. Watch the previous Rethink Live. Watch the year before Rethink Live. I bet, and just grab one thing. One thing, I'm sorry, because I know the brilliant future comes out of brilliant ideas like the ones that they have shared. Thank you for sharing, amazing people in here.
Thank you all for sharing so freely. You're incredible at what you do. You take care of your people in a way that is bar none. So we appreciate everybody joining today. Sandy, anything else for the good of the cause?
I have a couple of things. Again, thank you, Maria, for doing a fantastic job leading our National ReThink Council members down the path for this great discussion today. Do know that for everyone who might not know, this is half of our ReThink Council. The other half was on our session in Q1 and we'll be back in Q3. Currently, we've got that scheduled for August the 14th. There might be a little wiggle on that, so please follow us. Michaela has put all of the Instagram and Facebook information into chat, so please follow us, like and share our videos, of course, because we'd like to increase our viewership. And thank you to each and every one of you and to our great moderator today, Maria Kazakos, and always to have to thank all of our broker advisors, which includes Vic Kiros. And we're open to any ideas. So if you've got some great idea for our next Rethink Live topic or something that's unique to your area that one of these folks might help you with, please reach out to them directly or reach out to us at rethink@hsffranchise.com, and we'd be happy to respond and help you. Everyone have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you next time.